some years ago, I was standing in the museum, and two big guys came next to me, like these 400-pound guys that lift weights on, like the World's Strongest Men contest. Big boys. And I thought with my fat stomach hanging out, and these guys, we were crowding the ramp because one of them said, "May we stand here?" I said, "Yeah, sure." And then one said, "The ley lines go through here." Now, I didn't know what he meant. Ley lines. L-E-I, flowers? No. L-A-Y, flat? No. I didn't know what he... I said, "The ley lines?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "You mean, didn't act too ignorant." I taught dowsing. And I know you don't see the dowsing lines, but they work. Done it with hundreds of people for water. Okay. And so I said, "Yes, sure." And I said, "You mean Hatteras or Buxton?" They said, "No, here." I said, "Well, what do you mean?" He put his hands out. He says, "Here where we're standing." These guys were on pilgrimage from Iceland. One was an executive at Johnson & Johnson. I don't know what the other one did. But they were not the pulley-haired, glassy-eyed. They were very substantial citizens. Ley was the name of a man. Ley, L-E-I, hypothesized that the churches in England are on ley lines, that the pyramids are on ley lines, Stonehenge is on ley lines. In Peru, there's a place called Nazca, where the natives took the top layer of stone and moved it like this. They created straight lines that went for miles down a valley and up a mountain like this. And then they made zoomorphic figures like butterflies and spiders and people that were 400, 500, whatever the size was, that you could only see from up above. This is a couple of thousand years ago. And so Ley hypothesized that all of this is based on the fact that there are people who can feel the magnetic lines or the force lines in the earth. These guys from Iceland, wherever, came here to re themselves, to reestablish themselves. So over the years, we get people in the museum who come back to us. We had the gift shop in the back. They walk back, they say, "Boy, my jaw is quaking, or I'm sweating, or something, my legs are shaking." I said, "Oh, really? Where?" And it's always the same location. So we have that as a plus and a bonus here on the island. The other thing I wanted to share with you was this has been native land for a very long time, and people feel the vibes from the having gone through that spirituality all those hundreds and hundreds of years are sites around here, and we have sites that we've analyzed. There's a shell mound, for instance, that is about 5 to 6 feet high and 1,200 feet long. That's 4 football fields. And the natives were here to the point, when you count those middens, the garbage heaps, they were here to up to 5,000 to 6,000 people. And then a man that we know found Mandio's mother's village site in Buxton. And that's made the news because they're trying to connect it back into history. And so that's there, and the evidence is there. We use those sites to determine population. And Dr. Phelps, who was one of our biggie guys involved with that kind of investigation, determined that it was about 6,000 population then. Of course, the whole island was covered with trees. So I wanted you to know that in reality, it's not just a place to look at and be.
Right.
It is unquestionably Native American from a long time ago. And these were woodland people. This was all woods. And they used it in much the same way as people do now. But it was a lot more prolific than the foods that they needed and the plants that they used and ate from. So I just wanted to round that out for you a little bit so that you'd know that you were married and you were celebrating in a place that had a lot more to it. And then sometime when you get a chance and you get an opportunity to go to the gardens and up the top, Fort Ross, the aquarium, you'll see that rounded out, get a better idea of what it's about.
I've been to the aquarium, so what are the gardens you're talking about?
Have you been since they rehabbed it?
No, I've never been to the any gardens.
No, I mean the aquarium.
It's
The
been
aquarium was
a couple
done-
years since I've seen it.
Yeah, I'm not up on when. I
Yeah.
can't recall when it was done, but they spent a great deal of rehabbing money. It's very elegant. It pays to go in because they change the exhibits too.
Okay.
So that's that. But the gardens are constantly changing
Okay.
because of the growth.
Right.
And beautiful display of camellias in the early, in the cold weather actually.
Uh-huh.
And now they keep changing the beds, and it's a splendid walk for people in love.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, that's my take.
How is it?
No, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. That's
Yeah, on paper, and I'll give it a name of a friend who wrote 21 books on genealogy.
Yeah.
And a splendid guy. He lives in West Virginia.
Our tribe was state recognized by my name, but you know the Chavis name. So
Gotcha.
we have genealogists and tribal historians.
Yeah, well, you have it written down.
But
So
I was 2 generations removed. The 2 world wars removed me from those roots, so I had to rediscover all that. You know, I had to
Gotcha.
get in touch with my people.
but you do have it. So
I do have it. Yes.
So you won't have a problem trying to. We get people in here that are no question about their fact that you can't tell, and then their family's never told,
Yeah.
but they know they are. They heard some aunt or uncle or granny or uncle. Somebody
Right.
told them at the table
Right.
that they have Native American heritage, but they don't know what it is.
Well, I was told all my life that we were part Cherokee, and it looks like that there are 2 different theories. We know we're mixed. We do know we're mixed, and the French origin of Chavis is Chavou, and they first came across into Jamestown, and I think it was 1641, if I remember right, out of my research or whatever. But it looks like just from going from the Chaves, the Chaveurs, and the Chavous, and all that, they was spelled many different ways at one point in time. It looks like it was a migration south from Riverbed, from where the Nottoway were, to the PD, and then to where the Orangeburg, which is Beaver Creek area.
Gotcha.
So it looked like the Frenchmen might have migrated and integrated with the Indians and kept going generation after generation after the furs were cleaned out. That's one theory. The other theory is that it's a possibility that we're related to the Creek through some treaty in 1790 that George Washington himself signed instead of the Secretary of War. The Secretary of State and George Washington signed this treaty with the Creek, and they're given their native names in this treaty. And of course now we know those people's Christian names, but not their native names.
Gotcha.
So
Interestingly enough, though, lots of folk who think they're Cherokee are not.
right.
And that seems to be like a name like Smith or Jones.
Uh-huh.
And people, when you say what's your heritage, they'll say Cherokee automatically because
Right.
everybody knows the name. And you might find if there was folks who migrated south from north, that they are Algonquian speaking people, woodland people.
Right.
And you might find, they came down the east side, that it could be any number of, the same way my wife's family thought Cherokee was the answer, and our sister's an archaeologist. So, and very precise, it turned out to be Pamunkey.
Right.
So you don't know who you are because
Yeah.
nobody wants to.
I believe it's just a guess because my grandfather died when I was young. Some of my earliest memories are him dying of cancer, and so that was part of the reason why I had to reconnect. But I think he lived in a little town called Alert, Indiana, where the Klan activity was pretty, still is pretty fierce. So I think it was a point of, let me back up a minute. When I met his cousin that he grew up with, who is now our tribal elder, she had told, when we gained state recognition, she was in tears, and she told me, Tommy, when I grew up with your grandfather, Nomi, when we got off the bus, and the first thing we'd do is go fishing, but when we got off the bus, the white kids would spit on us through the window. So I think it was a point of shame, of it's just.
That's why they didn't, as soon as
really
you started
want to tell
looking
us
white,
about it.
they
Yeah.
didn't allow for that to perpetuate because that was a hard way to live.
Right.
And it was lost.
Yeah.
So I would be very happy before you leave to have you scribble down your name and address and phone number and
Okay.
cell phone and all that kind of stuff so we can keep in touch with you.
Okay.
And
I think the chief of my tribe would very much like to meet you.
Most
It's a
definitely.
shame that he had to go back.
Yeah, I had wanted to interview him and
Yeah.
told him, but didn't get a
well, I'd
chance.
be pleased and honored to meet him. And if you ever drag him back to celebrate your anniversary next year or whatever you're
Yeah.
planning
I'll
coming
watch
down.
the weather
Yeah.
a little.
But in the meantime, I'll check our books too.
Okay.
And if you want to be in touch with this guy, he'll be pleased to talk to you. He's just a wonderful person. And I have a book he just finished on the Cherokee.
Okay.
Big as a phone book, no pictures.
What's the gentleman's name?
Is
It's not Professor King from the
No,
University of Tennessee.
he's not a professor.
Okay.
He was a police fireman at an airport in Hickson, Tennessee. You ever hear of Hickson, Tennessee?
Yeah.
Oh, you have? One of the few people that heard of it. Hickson, Tennessee. And I asked him how he was doing, and he said, fine. I was on duty at the on the sidewalk in front of the airport, and a guy came in with a big car and parked. I said, you have to move it on. And he said, something. And I said, no, I'm sorry, you better move it. And he said something, and the third time he had to tell him to move it, he called the boys. And he was a perp. He said there was a van out in the parking lot ready to blow things up. So I said, did you get a medal or something important? He said, not even a raise in salary. He did get inspired to lose some weight.
Right.
Because he said he was too heavy to be running around like that. So he inspired himself to be weight-free. He has 21 books. I have no idea. I've never tried to check our stuff, but he'll help you if you want. If you hit any kind of impasse, and suddenly you'll find that maybe you're a Sioux.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
But well.
you want to say that off?
Ancient ancestors of a lot of tribes. Whoa, that was scary.
What happened?
It just moved. That's
I think it's the floorboards.
yeah. Yeah. I've never seen an intact piece of pottery from the
I
Anasazi.
thought you guys had enjoyed this. I really did.
That was